2200 Elo chess rating. It's a highly coveted rating in the chess world as it corresponds to national chess master level. A lot of players want this rating. I just recently broke 2200 on chess.com. I'm going to show you how I did it, and I got news for you. It's not as hard as you think. I'm going to show you guys 8 of my games. I went on an 8-game winning streak to finally break 2200. And the first game we're going to start with is pretty basic. It's pretty easy. We'll just call it a warm-up just to get you guys ready for the next games. Okay, so we have the Caro-Kann here, and pretty standard stuff. Black plays bishop f5. This is the main line. Also f6, knight f6 is also another move, and knight d7. Okay, so I move my knight out of the way and attack the bishop. This is all book, and it's because it's a good move because it just it wins a tempo basically on the bishop. It's forcing black to answer that, which black does. And now I place my other knight in f3, and we have c3. This is all book here, so if you guys are taking notes, this is how you play the Caro-Kann. Okay, bishop d3, knight f6, and now actually we push the h-pawn, and we push the h-pawn to h5 to the point where the bishop's trapped, and it has to release the tension and take the bishop, in which then we bring our queen into the game and develop our queen. So this is all standard book lines. Okay, now in this position, okay, I wouldn't want to take because the knight's going to jump in, get involved in the game, attack my queen, and win a tempo, and then get another move. Who knows what black will do here, but I don't like giving my opponents tempos. Maybe this or something, trying to win a pawn. I don't like that. So we don't want to improve our opponent's pieces, okay? We want to improve our own pieces. So I just developed my bishop and supported this pawn. Okay, black plays h6, pretty standard stuff. I castle queenside. I like castling queenside a lot. It's become my style. It's kind of become my brand here, my MO. But the idea here is this is going to open up, and when it does, I have a battery on this file. So I think that's a good idea. My opponent took, and I took back with the knight. We have castles, and okay, right here we have a tactic. How do we spot tactics? This is pretty basic actually, because the bishop is undefended, so we always look for undefended pieces first, and I have a battery aimed here. So I just simply grab the pawn, and after black takes back, I win the bishop. So, and black cannot do any in-between moves like bishop takes because I'm attacking the queen. So after this, I win a pawn. Not only do I win a pawn, we have a very weak isolated pawn here that I can bully. So black didn't like that. So first he defends. I bring my other rook into the game, and now black gets his knight involved in the game. Very good idea. I increase the scope of my bishop, so just improving my pieces. Pretty standard stuff. And now black gives me the knight. Now black's a strong player, so he didn't just do it for no reason. He actually did it because he wanted to get rid of the isolated pawn. So I took here, and his idea was he played d5. E5, sorry. So e5, forking me and saying, well, he'll get a piece back and get rid of his isolated pawn. So he thought it was a good idea. The problem is I can just simply take here because his knight's pinned to the queen. So after he took back, I just took, and my opponent resigned. I told you that was an easy one, just a warm-up. The next games are going to be a lot more challenging. All right, so let's go into the second one. I have the black pieces here, so I'll flip the board. I play the Sicilian defense. That's my game. And here, just normal stuff here, just developing, fighting for the center. And my opponent pins my knight. So when my opponent pins my knight, they're really kind of attacking this pawn, whatever my knight's defending, right? So I castle, and now my opponent goes in to cash in on this pawn. So my opponent's going to take the knight. I took back. I calculated this, so I give up the pawn. Now this pawn's weak, and I really don't want to defend it the whole game. Well, I shouldn't say it's weak. It's isolated, so it could be tough to defend. So I give this pawn up so I can grab this pawn. So I don't give up any material, and I got rid of my weakness. So there you go. Okay, my opponent came down here, knight c7, attacking the rook. So what do you think I I did. I tell this to my students all the time. You want to mix defense with attack. It's that simple. It's that basic. I want to move my rook out of the way of the knight and attack something bigger than the rook if I can, which I did. So I attacked the queen. Now the queen moves away. The whole purpose of this is to keep the tempo. Now, notice how I keep the tempo from here. Queen b8. I go ahead with the queen exchange. So black has to take back, and it's my move again. Again, I don't want black to take my bishop. I like the bishop pair. That's an advantage. Plus, it would mess up my pawn structure. So I simply move the bishop out of the way again and attack something and pin something. I'm attacking the knight and I'm pinning it to the rook. So I'm doing two things. So when white defends, what would I play here? How do you put more pressure on the knight and improve a piece? It's pretty simple, right? Rook d2, threatening to win the knight. And if the knight moves away, oh, look at this. I'm cashing in on some material. So white cannot play that. So white played rook takes b7, cashing in on a pawn, and now attacking my knight. So this is a puzzle. So when you come to a position in chess where there's tactics, this is the part where we want to calculate and use most of our time. Not sure if I used that much time, but in theory, if you have the time, you should use it. And the whole puzzle here, what's going on in this position, is we're threatening to win the knight. If it was our move and this knight wasn't here, we would just win a piece. So, in other words, how do we get our knight out of the way with tempo? How do we get our knight out of the way and attack something? Okay, so the move is knight e8, d8. I attack the rook, and my opponent resigned because when my opponent moves the rook out of the way somewhere, I just cash in on the knight. Now the computer says that's a good move, that's winning, but this is the computer's number one move is this, which is the same concept. It moves out of the way and attacks the rook. I thought about this move, but I figured it was the knight could have possibly been vulnerable. I figured this is the safest way to go. Again, practicality. I'm trying to play like a human player. I'm not trying to play like a computer. All right, the next game we have here, playing against another expert, and we have the Sicilian defense again. And this game is interesting. So, so you can easily play this position wrong if you're not careful. So our opponent's doing what? Attacking the knight, right? So we should see all this. So I just simply move the bishop back. Now, this does two things. This protects, it unleashes the defense of my queen on the knight. And also, if the bishop ever took here and I took back and the queen took, it would not be with check anymore because the bishop's in the middle between the king and where the queen would be. This is very important stuff. Okay, so it's important, and I'll show you why, because right now. So black adds another attacker to the knight. So I move out of the way and take the knight. Now black takes my bishop, I take back, and black recaptures my knight. Now, here, what do you think I played? What move develops a piece, threatens something, and puts black in a tough position? What move challenges black? So I played here queen d4. Now, queen d4 is the best move. It's threatening g7, which not only wins a pawn, but it's going to win the rook, and it's threatening the queen. So black cannot defend this because I would take the queen, like so. Like Wesley saw. So, and if black moves away, I'm going to take this. So my point was black's best move is to take the queen, and I undouble my pawns. My pawns are strong now and controlling the center. I have a really good game, and I'm ready to go into the end game. But black was like, no, I don't want to fix your pawn structure. So they played c5. Now here's the thing where players are like too good for their own good, I guess you can say. So they're thinking in like, I don't want to undouble his pawns, but I'll give up a pawn and a rook probably, and I'll figure it out. So, I mean, a rook is a rook, right? If you're going to give up a rook, you really have to have some compensation. You really have to watch what you're doing, okay? Black just had the trade there, and he was fine. I had a comfortable position, but he was fine. Okay, attacking my bishop. Again, I just took the rook. I'm also attacking the knight with check. So black has to castle. I castle. And now black is threatening to win a pawn with check. So now we have to evaluate. First, we have to see that. Now we have to evaluate how to defend it if we want to. I have such a good attack here. I figured I'm just going to go on the offense. I'm going to ignore that. I don't want my pieces babysitting pawns, especially a double isolated pawn. So I just took another pawn and activated my rook. Black took, and I went into the corner. Okay, so now we have a capture on e4, and okay, I just trade down pieces. Also, this bishop is very strong, very powerful, so I'm not sure about that move. Not really sure what black could have done, but I'm not sure about that move. So I'm happy to trade this off. Black takes the bishop instead of the knight, which is a good idea. If black took the knight, my bishop is a beast. It would come here with tempo, and black's in trouble, but black's in trouble no matter what. Black took the knight, and now is actually threatening a check here. If I don't see it, we have check, and I guess I can come down here, and I guess, whoops, I would take, and we would have an exchange here. But then again, I'm still doing good here. I'm not sure exactly what black was doing, but black wanted the bishop. Okay. So black's attacking my knight now. And I was going to come here to c5, but then I figured the rook's defending the knight. I can actually jump in here with tempo. So I'm coming in here with tempo. It's check. If black takes, I take the knight, so it's perfectly fine for me. And if black moves out of the way, I'm going to throw in another check like right here, and black's in a lot of danger, especially after this. So black decided to, after knight d6, black takes the knight, I take their knight, and then I simply just go for force, an exchange of rooks, further material, and my opponent resigns in this position. Which brings us into the next game. We're climbing up, actually, this is the next game. We're climbing up that rating ladder. Okay, so now I'm at 2173 at the time of this game. I play e4. Okay, we have the Sicilian defense again. And now we have the dragon variation. And d6 is a tell that our opponent's going to play the dragon variation because we have two pawns in front of the bishop. So why would the bishop go this way? If it has two options in the middle of the beginning of the game to go this way or this way, why would it go this way when it has two pawns in front of it? It's probably going to fianchetto, right? So we're going to have the Sicilian dragon, most likely. Okay, bishop c4. I always play f3. I'm the opposite of Ben Feingold, always play f3. And I get ready to possibly castle queenside. Okay, so if you know me by now, I like to castle queenside. That's my style. I do it whenever I can. And I think it's the best move in chess, castling queenside. That's how I got to 2200. You can end the video right now. Just castle queenside and you're fine. Okay, but seriously, okay. So here I did this move to weaken my opponent's pawn chain. So I'm attacking the knight and this pawn. So now I'm weakening their pawns, and also I have an attack on the queen. Wherever I move my queen, the rook's going to hit this queen. I'm going to take over this file. The king is still in the center, so I was pretty optimistic about my position. So I played queen f2. So I attacked the queen and also setting up a battery over here just so I have my queen supporting my bishop. Okay, black decides to pin his own pieces. Now this is something we can just really, our rating can improve drastically just by doing simple things. And pinning your own pieces is never a good idea. I mean, black could have just came down here, I guess, and have been totally fine. I don't see the purpose of pinning your pieces. It's almost never a good idea, but black did it. And I pile up on the pin because that's what you do to pins, right? You pile up on the pin piece. And here I just sack the rook because black cannot take with the queen. I'll take the queen. So black has to take with a piece. But the point is now I just replace that rook with this rook, and I'm still putting all that pressure on black. I'm going to try to win material here. Black's has a couple of options here. Black could take the knight, But then I take back, and black cannot castle. I have a dangerous bishop cutting in here. My queen can work on this side of the board. My rook's coming in. It's really uncomfortable for black. It's fine. The computer says it's even, but it's really hard to play for black. So black played this move, rook a7, and I don't know what just came on, but rook a7, defending all this stuff. So what I do here, there's a tactic. I'm sure you guys can spot it. Hopefully, maybe, depending on your rating, maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about. But this queen and bishop is lined up with the rook. The knight's in the way. So how do we get material and attack the rook? That's all we really have to do with discoveries. So we don't take the bishop. That would be a mistake because black can get out of the way of the attack and take back the material. So here I actually took on e6, the best move, and I'm attacking not just the rook, but the queen. So black has to take the knight. Now, if you notice, I did that for two reasons, to win material and also to bust open black's position. Now, black's position's weak. He has two isolated pawns. Not to mention, I get the rook. So look at me. Okay, black castles here, and now I just go to improve my knight. And black attacks my bishop, which is already defended, so I'm totally fine here. But I go to trade these bishops. Now, I go to trade these bishops because I feel like going into an endgame, so if we trade down all our pieces, right, I come here, I attack the bishop. Let's say the bishop moves away and still defends this. Black has a busted game here going into an endgame. I have a really good knight. I could just anchor it to this square. It's on a dark square. Black can never dislodge it because he has a light square bishop. And I'm doing totally fine, and I'm actually winning in this position. So that's why I went for the endgame there. Black saw all that. Black's a good player. He didn't want to go into that. So he instead did some fancy footwork, went to bishop c6, trying to chop that knight off. But I didn't give him time to do anything. I took the bishop first. Then I brought my queen into the game. Again, he does not have time to take the knight, because if he does, I'll take his queen. And if he takes my queen, I take the knight and I get that same position that I wanted. Actually, it's even better now because the bishop can't defend the pawn. It's arguably better, maybe about the same. But I get the same position basically. Okay, so anyway, I come here. Black does not go for the queen trade because black's 2100. So I took the pawn instead. So here we go. Look at me. So black could have just taken, I guess, if he had to. It's not good. But I'm trying to see why black didn't just play this here. Oh, rook d6, pinning the bishop. So black could not move away and defend the pawn because of rook d6. Okay, so black comes here and forfeits the e5 pawn. I grab that right away. And black cements their bishop here. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. It's cutting off my powerful rook. It's solidifying the center because this bishop guards the pawn. This pawn guards the bishop. So they have a symbiotic relationship. Look that word up. It's a good one. And now the bishop's also attacking this pawn. That's a real thing. However, if it took, I could play b3 and trap it right now. But at some point, maybe he's threatening that move. Okay, so I have nothing really to do, meaning I have no specific tactics, so I just improve my position. My knight's great, my queen's great, it's in the center, it can't get any better. My knight can jump in here, but I wanted to save that move for the right time. So I just simply played b3 first, gave my king some luft, and after black plays this move, I improve my rook. So my rook's on d4 now, and my whole plan was to come here, attack the queen, which also allows my rook to come onto the queen side, attack checkmate, and we have a good game, right? That's all we can do in chess, is just give ourselves a good playable position. My opponent just came down here, trying to bust open my fortress. The problem is it's way too optimistic and way too slow. So I have all this attack here, attacking the queen, attacking mate. There's no time to do any of this stuff. So here I attack the queen, and again, with the idea of sliding the rook over and threatening mate. But I also had a little tactic in here if he doesn't see it. So the queen right now is protecting f7. That's very important. Because if you guys know about smothered mate, if nothing's protecting f7, besides the rook, we have a smothered mate check pattern in this types of positions with the knight and queen. Okay, that's going to come into account real quick. So the queen moves out of the way and totally abandons f7, which allows me to play rook d5. Now, the point behind rook d5 is it's winning. That's the point. But let's just look at the in-between moves. We always have to look at black's counter chances. This doesn't work. I calculated that because the rook can just drop back, protect, and attack the queen. In fact, I don't even have to do that. I can just play king b2 and still be winning. But black took the rook, and now I simply have a discovered mate pattern. A smothered mate pattern. I also have a discovered check winning the queen pattern. So black came here, and this position, knight f7 wins the game. Now, you might be saying, well, I'm winning the queen, which I am, but I wouldn't take the queen here. I would go check and then back rank checkmate. And if black comes back here, I still don't take the queen. The game would finish like this: check, and then sacking the queen. King can't take because of the knight. This is smothered mate check pattern, and I'd have a checkmate, and that's how I'd finish the game off if my opponent didn't resign. So never resign, because then I can't show you really cool games. All right. So the next game we're going to go into is my opponent's 2152, and I'm 2184, getting closer to 2200. I never broke 2200 in my life. And I haven't played over the board chess in a long time. Maybe I played like 20 games in the past 5 years. So my next goal and my next playlist I'm going to try to make is I'm going to try to play over the board games in live tournaments and get my live official rating over 2200. So I'll play 4 games a tournament. And one tournament is 4 games in one tournament, and I'll come back after I come back from the tournament. I'll analyze those games. I'll upload them to YouTube, and I'll track my journey and my progress to 2200. Okay, but enough about me. All right. So we have a very standard basic Italian game here. Black takes, and I take with the knight. Now, we can also take with the rook, which is fine, but you want to take with the knight here just to keep your flexibility. If you took with the rook, you can't castle queenside, and if you take with the knight, you still can. So it's just about if you have a decision about which piece to take, it's just sometimes as simple as that. Okay, I improve my bishop. Black plays f5, and we almost always want to take on f5. We don't want black to ever play, whoops, we don't want black to ever play this. That's not good. So I take, black takes, I improve my queen, and black plays bishop g5. Okay, I just take that bishop because I prefer to take bishops. I prefer to have bishops over knights most of the time. And black takes back with the knight, and I castle where? Queenside. And what do you know? Spoiler alert, I won this game. So, okay. Here is actually one of the craziest tactics you'll see. If you thought last game's tactic was crazy, this one might be even crazier. So, or at least the setup to it is. So I push the rook out of the way. I'm pushing. Now my plan is to launch an attack on the king side, because when kings are castled on opposite sides of the board, we want to throw the pawns at the enemy king and bust open the king's fortress. So black goes to double the rooks on the f-file, and here I go ahead and try to bust open the king, knowing that black's going to play h5 because black's a good player. Now, why do I know that? It's just a very simple basic thing. If you're attacking, you want the position open. So I would want this position, right? That'd be really good for me. If you're defending, you want to slow things down. By slow things down, you close the position. So black closed the position, which is very smart. Now I put my rook here setting up the tactic, but a couple of things had to change first for the tactic to work, which they did, and I was able to do the tactic. So black played knight d4. I took, and I was praying that black took with the knight here, which is the most natural way to take. And it's important because it's not protecting the king side anymore. So black did, which allowed me to do this tactic, which is the best move, knight f6. Now, when calculating knight f6, first I was like, well, if black takes with the rook, I win the exchange, and I win material. And if black takes with the pawn, which they did, I'm just going to take with check. And that's why I put this rook here on the g file opposite to the king. Now, I saw that the king had 3 squares to go to. 1, 2, 3. This one loses the queen. This one loses the queen. So this one, actually, I calculated it out. This one loses even quicker. So after king h8, which black played, I played queen h6. And after this, we had to see at the beginning of the tactic that we can take the rook at the end because the rooks are no longer connected as the pawn is on f6, disrupting their connection. So there you go. And then black can only do this, and that's checkmate. So black resigned after this move. However, black actually had a resilient defense in this position. Black could have played king f7. So after I play this, winning the queen, black just calmly plays king e6. And yes, I get the queen, but black gets a rook. And remember, I sacked a knight. So black gets a rook and a knight for the queen. So I'm better, but not completely winning here. And there's a lot of game to be played. And to be honest, I mean, this is going to be tough. I'm going to lose this pawn. And now, not only that, there's a lot of pressure on this pawn. If I defend it, my rook's passive. And black could always go for this pawn, which leaves black with a passed pawn. So it's a very hard position to play. So I'm happy my computer is not stockfish and didn't see all that. All right, let's go into the next game. We have game number 5 here. I'm at 2190 at this point. Let's see. Okay, so again, playing the Sicilian defense, and my opponent. Oh wait, did we? No, we didn't play this. No, never mind. Okay, so I'm playing Queen D7. I thought this was another game for a second. Okay, so I go to attack the bishop. Bishop moves away. I take the knight. Now, why did I take the knight? Well, if I take the knight, I give white an isolated pawn, which isn't necessarily always bad. But what I didn't want was I didn't want white to play something like this. And now if I ever take, they're always going to control that square. I didn't want that, so I just took the knight off completely. And now this pawn's here. I can maybe attack it at some point, and I have a very comfortable game. Okay, so I just developed the rook that was in the corner, not doing anything, brought it into the game, and brought it to an open file. All basic stuff here. White goes to f3, and I simply improve my knight, controlling more squares. Chess can really be this simple sometimes. It doesn't take much looking back just to break 2200. I feel like I just got sharper with my tactics, but just thinking very rational about positions, improving pieces, development, and not dropping and not blundering. Okay, so white comes to e5 here, attacking the queen. So I defend, but I always put pressure back on my opponent. So I went queen e8. Now the point is I'm threatening to win the bishop because I have all this pressure here. So white just takes. That's the quickest way to handle it. White can also go here, but white can also lose the bishop pair and mess up their pawn structure. So white correctly took, I took back, and we're totally fine here. And if white ever tries to kick my knight out, that's good. Well, now they left a lot of holes in the dark squares, and that's not good. In fact, that's what white did, though. So white did that, and I played knight g3, immediately just took the space left behind, brought my queen into the game, kicked out the knight, and black correctly counterattacks. Black had to play this move, I think. If he came back here after this move, if white came here, I might have had tactics. Not yet, but at some point, I mean, I could just solidify this knight. So for strategic reasons, white didn't have time to play slow here. So white correctly counterattacked me, and I should have came here. I was thinking about coming to f5 because it controls this square twice, so the rook cannot come into the open file. But I was afraid of the rook taking the pawn, but it's defended by the knight, so I could have came there. So I came to h4 instead, which is fine. It's just not as good. And white saved their knight. I improved my rook, so all my pieces are developed. I'm castled. You'll see that that's pretty much what I do every game. Again, not hard stuff. It's just the basics. Okay, here, white did not want to guard this isolated pawn all day, especially with the queen. So white gave it up in exchange for this pawn, my isolated pawn. Now, I calculated, not too deeply, I saw that, well, if I take, the whole point is white can take this pawn, because if I take, then I lose material, and I'm in trouble here, and white's winning the game. But I saw that after I took the pawn, which I did, and after, if white took, I would just take this pawn, so that's fine. But white threw in this in-between move first, and again, I moved out of the way and took the pawn, and now white got their pawn. But I don't have to take. It's not checkers, right? So I don't have to take this bishop. So I just chilled. In fact, a lot of times when you take, when you concentrate on what's going on, what your opponent's attacking or doing, it's like you're feeding the fire. It's like you're throwing gasoline on the fire. So I just want to ignore what's going on, kind of ignore what he's doing. I don't have to play into it and just create my own threats and play where I have the advantage. So I played the best move, rook c2. Now I'm putting pressure on white. Okay, white takes. And now I decided to just take back with the rook. My whole point, which I'm about to show you, is after the rook takes, it looks weird. Normally I wouldn't do this because the queen comes down with check, but I was able to calculate that I just go to h7. Now the game is completely even. It's triple zeros. My point with h7, though, is the rook cannot come down here with check, and the queen cannot check me on the vulnerable diagonal here. So this pawn protects me laterally. This pawn protects me vertically, so there's no checks there, and stops the knight from coming in here. And this diagonal is actually protected by the knight. So white cannot throw in any checks, which basically gives me the initiative. So here white had to play queen d6 here. Now queen d6 attacks my knight. So if I took, whoops, not that, but if I took the white knight, the white queen would take my knight, and we have an even game. However, white dropped back here, and that's a huge blunder. Now we have a tactic here. It's not really hard. It's just a 1-2 punch. Try to pause your videos and find out what I played here. Again, I just played rook e2. The purpose is the queen's guarding the knight, but not anymore, it ain't. Because the queen can't even come here because my knight would take the queen. So the queen had to bounce off that square. I took the knight, and not only am I up a piece, I'm just going to checkmate white. And not to mention, there's no checks because my knight is guarding that square. You have to calculate all this stuff out. You have to calculate what you have and your opponent's counterattack and balance it out and see if what's the best move and if you can go ahead and attack. So that was that game. We're getting up there here. We got, let's see, we got 2 more games left. This is the second to last game. 21-97 here, and let's see. We have an Italian game, and I took here, and after black took, I just simply moved the knight back, attacked this pawn twice. We have bishop g4. Okay, now I cannot take the pawn because I would just be dropping a piece. I cannot take back because I'll lose my queen. So here I just move my queen out of the way. Black doubled my pawns, which is another thing I like because I like to castle queenside. So when I castle queenside, this is going to be open file to attack. Now, black should realize this and not castle kingside. So black should play something like queen d7, castle queenside, play g6, and be fine. Okay, so e5 is a good move. It's striking in the center. Notice that I don't take, and after black takes back and improves their knight, I have horrible pawn structure. This file is open. I want to castle. That's not great. So instead, I just play the best move, bishop b3, and after that, I castle queenside. Okay. Here we have queen d6. I played rook e1, just going for the king and going for some tactics. Like if I play this, let's say black plays a random move, I would do this, and maybe what do I do here? Knight g3, attacking the queen, and it's pinned to the king, and black is finito. So black saw that because he's 2150 and castled queenside. So I just improved this rook first, very patiently. And black should have played, in my opinion, g6. because it stops me from winning the pawn, but does not give up any holes in his position. But black played g5, which does give a major hole in the position. I played knight g3, threatening to go to f5, which is a great square, and it also attacks the queen, so it wins a tempo. Now, I wanted to play g3 too, also because I wanted black to really worry about this threat and maybe try to stop it, which he can't, but it actually is my second threat. It's not really a threat. It's something that I would hope black would try to prevent. My real threat is actually, by playing this move, is this, forking the queen and knight and winning a piece. But black saw that and moved the queen here, and I improved my knight, and black took. Now, which pawn would you take with? You take with the ones that are doubled. You undouble them, so I undouble my pawns. Now, my double, I still have the open G file from originally doubling my pawns, but since I was able to alleviate my double pawns, because black took here, I have no double pawns and an open G file, so I have the best of both worlds. Okay. We have f4 here. Black pushes forward. I dislodge the knight from f6, forcing black to go to knight d5. I mean, not forcing. Black could always go back, but that would be ridiculous. So we have knight d5, and I took here. I took here because I didn't want black to come here. I didn't want to have to worry about that. That's a really powerful knight if it gets there. Yes, my knight is defending right now, but actually, I don't know if it... No, it's really not, because let's say I let black come in here and I take with the knight. Yes, the knight's not there anymore, but this really annoying passed pawn's there. I don't really like that. So I just chop the knight off, no problem. And here I played rook take. So I just won a pawn here. And after black attacks my queen, which looks good because it looks like a skewer. And again, if I play this, that's not good, because after this and this, we have a really tough position to play. I mean, this is not really friendly. So the queen's coming in here, the bishop, the rooks can pile up on this pawn. It's not really good. So instead, I just gave black the rook, but not just for free. I'm also attacking their rook, right? So it's okay. So, and also, not only am I attacking the rook with the queen, I'm also attacking the rook with the knight. So I can win the rook two different ways. Okay, so black instead moved the rook out of the way, which looks really good, and attack something. And not just attack something, but if black took and took again, and moved again, it would be checkmate, because my king cannot come here as the bishop's guarding it. So what do we do in this position? I go on the initiative if I ever can. If I can go on the initiative, I always do. So that's what I do here. Throw in a check, and black didn't want to take because my queen's invited into the game now, and I would come in like this, and I would destroy him. However, it kind of happened anyway. So black decided to move up instead, and what move did I play here? Try to look for the most forcing moves now. We don't want to play too passive, right? If I move my rook away, again, black's going to come down here, and we have some serious problems. This is not comfortable, ladies and gentlemen. This is not comfortable at all. So in this position, what's the most forcing move that opens up the game even further? I just want to go full attack mode here. Pure offense, not give black any moves. So I start off with e6. The point is, if black takes with the queen, I take with the rook. So, and black can't take with the king. So black will take with, actually the only way that I check, because I'm covering all this escape squares, the only way out of check is to take with the pawn, which allows what to come into the game with tempo. Now this is open, so I bring my queen in with tempo. Okay, black has to go to c6 if he wants to survive. And now I just bring my rook into the game. I throw my knight into the game, take more pawns with check. Queen's defending the knight. And now black's king is running up the board like a Paul Morphy game from the 1700s. Now, I missed a couple. I could have made it quicker here, but I was in time trouble, so I just started chasing the king around. I figured I have to be winning here, so I don't have to play too accurately. I just have to make sure I just get the king close to me, and there's nothing black can do. Now, what's the winning move here? It's pretty cool. So, I mean, when we see a king this far into the board, which we don't usually get, we have to know that we have something, right? And I envision my queen being here or in this square, and the queen and bishop not protecting. So if they don't protect and my queen's here or here, it's going to be checkmate. So I actually played knight c5. The purpose behind knight c5 is if black takes with the rook, we have checkmate on the spot as it blocks the bishop. If black takes with the queen, we have checkmate on the spot as the queen is no longer guarding b3. And if black takes with the bishop, which is what happened, now I simply take the queen because the bishop was blocking that. And again, if black takes my rook, it's checkmate. If black takes this rook, it's checkmate. Even if we didn't have checkmate, I mean, and I just took this rook, that's still winning. So the game ended like this, and my opponent resigned in this position, which brings us to the final game. If you'd stick around this long, appreciate it. Thank you. And if you like this content, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get more videos like this. I put out numerous videos a week and a short every day. So if you find it helpful, please like and subscribe. Okay, the final game, this got me to 2202. I know it says 2200 already, but after this game, I went to 2200. So it's showing the rating after the game. So what it was after the game. So we have the Sicilian defense, and we have the Sheshkinov Sicilian, which is what I play with the black pieces, but I know how to play it. So if my opponent doesn't play it right, I know they're not playing it right. So black should play d6, actually, protecting that square. I attack it again a third time, and black should block again. I do this, and now black has to kick out my knight. If black doesn't kick out my knight, I simply take, bring in the second knight, and you can't stop one of the knights from coming here with check. So what would happen is we would have this move. I come back here, then this threatening the fork. I take. Black has to take with the pawn. I know it looks weird. I come here, and then we have something like this. Black actually castles kingside, and it's actually a cool position. That's all the book. However, a lot of players don't play it right, and black played this weird move, which allows me to sink my knight into the game right away. Black takes. Now I sink my queen into the game right away. Black said, okay, no problem. I'll just trade queens with you. Now, I don't want to trade queens. That just throws away any advantage. So I played e5 here. Now, e5 isn't the best, but it's okay. And it's just basically saying if you take, I'm going to have a nice pawn here, and it's very annoying. So black decided to attack this pawn twice instead. So I just simply brought my knight into the game. The point is, if black takes, I have knight c7. So what happened here? Black castled, and then I took the queen and simply defended my pawn. Now I have a very comfortable position. Not crushing, but I have more space. I have this hole to work with. I have a good position, right? Just a comfortable position. That's all we can really ask for out of the opening. Okay, black comes here because black's going to come here, and black wants to challenge this square. Doesn't want my knight to go in there unchallenged. So I thought about playing this, but I can't because black can just take it, right? So what did I do here? I just brought my bishop into the game. Now, if black comes here, I could always take, and then when black takes back, still controlling the square, now I can kick the knight out because it's not attacking my pawn. After it gets dislodged, I'm going to be here for a long time. Okay, so black at this point actually moved this knight there correctly. So now if I take and black takes, I think that's what happened in the game. Nope, I actually played this move first. So my idea actually was pretty good. Black saw it though, which I was really mad about. But let's say black plays like a random move. My idea was to go here, and then after the rook moves, if it comes here, I got a fork, And so the other square is here, but then I would come here, and after this rook moves, then I have this. But that doesn't work because the knight's there. So I would have to take this first at some point and then go like this. Then when the knight moves away, then come here. That was my idea. Okay. So I was stringing a couple ideas together. Black didn't let me play any of that. So black just snuffed everything by playing rook d8. Okay. I took the knight and kicked it out like I said I would. The knight comes here, and now I bring my bishop into the game. I'm not sure if I should bring the knight here or here. I'm pretty sure here, but I'm not too sure. So I figured let's just get my bishop into a better position first. It's more flexible, and then we can play the game from there. Makes sense, right? Okay, so the knight comes to d5, attacking my bishop. So I simply put it on d6, where it's a great bishop. And now I had an idea. So now since my bishop's on d6, now my knight can go to c7, and I would love to have my knight on d6 in a perfect world. But at the end of the day, if my bishop's anchored to d6 in this position, it's not the end of the world. It's very comfortable for me. So black goes to kick out my knight. I go here attacking the rook. Black, whoops, what happened there? We have to go back. I hate when that happens. So we have just a recap. We'll go back here. Okay. And now I go knight c7. And then we have a take on c7. I take attacking the rook. When the rook moves, I simply just go back to d6. And now I don't have a knight here, which is probably ideal. But having a bishop here is excellent too. It's an excellent piece, stopping black completely from coming into the game. I have a space advantage. I'm controlling a lot of these squares. And I can build up on this pawn at some point. Okay. Black plays b5. I castle queenside because I want my rook on this file, and I always castle queenside. Okay, not always, but most of the time. Okay, so we have the bishop attacking the rook, and I played this move, and as soon as I played it, I realized, oh no, he has this move, which is what he played, attacking my rook and my pawn. So I can't defend it because I have to defend my rook, so I'm going to lose my pawn. Okay, however, I had an idea. I move my rook out of the way, but I move it to a dark square so he can't repeatedly attack it again. And after he takes my pawn, I simply just move my bishop out of the way. And that's why I wanted my rook here to begin with, to put pressure on this backwards vulnerable pawn. And the idea is the pawn can't go forward because I have en passant. That would be horrible, actually, because now I have a passed pawn, and now I'm winning the game. So black just attacked my bishop. I took the pawn. Black piles up on the pinned piece, but I can get out of it because I have this rook d8 move, check, and black has to take the rook now or else he's getting checkmated. And now I take back. When the rook attacks, I simply move my bishop back, and we have a very even game, and we have bishops of opposite colors. You'll guys notice that this is infamously drawn games, but you're going to see why that's not always the case. Okay, so here I just go to protect my pawn. Black plays g5. I make a trade, and I go for a rook trade, which black obliges. And here is where black kind of goes astray. Okay, so I go to create a passed pawn. Now, playing this move actually creates a passed pawn here, believe it or not, because after takes, these pawns face each other, but this guy's passed. Now, I'd rather have it a little bit different, but that's the only thing I can do here. Now, black played that move, which is fine, and I wanted to use my bishop to anchor this pawn and protect this pawn. So my bishop's going to be totally defensive, but it's going to shut down black's entire counterplay on the king side. My idea was to shut down all the counterplay and then create a pass pawn on the queen side and improve my king and hope for the best. Okay, so first I took, and now I just played what I said I would play. And now black made a big mistake here, in my opinion. So black should keep control over this pawn. So if I ever try to increase my king, I would lose this pawn. So it keeps my king at bay for a little bit. But black moved away. Now I can immediately improve my king. And I don't know what black's doing because he can never take this pawn. So I'm not really sure. But now I go to create a passed pawn. And now I go to attack the bishop. And here black took the pawn, and my eyes lit up for a quick second. I almost was going to take the bishop. Of course I didn't. I was in time pressure. As you can see, I have 2 minutes on my clock. Because if I do that, I'm going to be very upset after this move, and I'm going to lose the game. So here I did not do that. I just took the pawn and said, I have a passed pawn now, and I'm attacking the bishop. That's even more important because now the bishop has to move away, which allows me, again, I'm keeping the initiative. I improve my king even further. And now at this point, I realized I was really definitely winning because even though we have bishops of opposite color, this bishop is shutting down the complete king side. Black cannot do anything. This pawn can never go forward because of en passant. Black is totally shut down. Not to mention I have a passed pawn, which black cannot intercept with his king because his king's out of position. And if the bishop sacrifices itself, then the bishop sacrifices itself. So they're losing. So black tried to get his king into the game, but it's too late. And in this position, my opponent resigned here. Well, there you have it, folks. Hope you like those videos. Again, a lot of the stuff I was doing was pretty basic. I was just rationalizing my position and seeing what was the best places to put my pieces, what was the most active squares to put my pieces, and to look out for my opponent's threat and to look out for tactics. Now, what's important, in order to spot tactics, you have to be sharp with tactics. So always practice your tactics and get out there and, like always, go play some chess.